In this tutorial, we will be covering the recent rework changes to NPC functionality inside Story Framework and how to go about utilizing these new features. So let's jump right into it. Firstly, let's go over changing the NPC parent class to a character type. So out of the box, Story Framework's NPCs use a basic actor as its parent class to simply demonstrate how NPCs are set up. Changing the parent class to a character type will allow us to use features such as AI navigation and other character-related functions for our NPCs. So if we take a look at the NPC demonstration inside the example map, if we right-click and edit this blueprint, you'll notice that this parent class is just simply an actor. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the parent class of this actor to a character type as previously mentioned. This will allow us to seamlessly change over the parent class without having to reset up all functionality for NPCs. So firstly, let's navigate to our NPC class. So inside core blueprints, we can find the NPC interactable base. So let's open this up again. Once inside, let's head over to File and find the reparent blueprint. So we're going to click on this and search for character. And we're just going to use the base character. So now let's go back to our level and drag our NPC interactable base into the level. And you'll notice that a few things need to be changed. So firstly, the character's mesh needs to be adjusted lower to fit inside the capsule component, and the mesh itself also needs to be rotated towards the forward axis of the character. So let's make these changes now. We can go to viewport and simply change this location to something like -80 or -85. We can actually change this to -90. And let's rotate this 90 degrees. So now we have fixed those small issues. Our character is now ready for any sort of character functionality that needs to be added to an NPC. So let's set up some AI navigation between two different locations in the level. I set up this small area for us to test out the changes to the NPCs. So inside the NPC blueprint, let's do a event begin player. We're just going to simply ping pong between two different locations in the level. So we'll do a move to, let's find the simple move, or let's find the simple move to location. Let's do a get player controller and plug this all in. Then we're going to create two locations. We'll call this, or two location variables. We'll call this location A and location B. Let's change these both to vectors and expose both these variables. So this is just for demonstration purposes. This isn't necessarily something you'd want to do to your own NPCs. So now back in our level, we will be using the utility tools that are included in Story Framework to get these two different locations. So if we go back to core, or rather the Story Framework core folder, we go to utility and we right click on SF tools and run edit to utility widget. So I already have this utility widget docked at the bottom just for easier use, but you'll notice we have two different sections. We have one for camera and one for audio. We will touch on both these as the tutorial goes on. So firstly, we're going to jump into the camera section. So we click on the camera. This is a live updated transform of the viewport camera. So this can be used for anything you need when it comes to getting the location or rotation of the camera in the viewport. So for instance, things like setting up fixed cameras, which was covered in a previous tutorial, or in our use case, we will just be using it to get the location of two different points in the level. So let's make the first point somewhere around here. Now let's click on our NPC and scroll down to the location A, and let's paste in these values. Let's do the same thing for location B, so let's set it somewhere around here. Now that we've got location A and location B all set up, let's go back to our NPC class. So we're actually going to change up some of this functionality. Instead, we're going to run this through a timer. So off of begin play, we're going to do a set timer by function name. Let's create a new custom event. We'll do this loop move to, and we'll do a flip-flop as we want this to cycle between two different execution chains. So let's make this function name the same as the event, so loop move to. We're going to have this fire every 5 seconds. That should give the NPC character enough time to move between the two different locations just to demonstrate. So the first one off of A will be moving to location A, and then the second one will be simply moving to location B. We would also need to change this get player controller reference to a get AI controller reference, as we want to use the AI controller instead of the player controller. Off of the controlled actor, we can do a reference to self. Move that all up. And off of the timer, we're going to simply fire the loop move to function once, just so that we can initiate the first move to immediately. We're also going to change our mesh to use the player character's animation blueprint, just so that our character has some animation when walking around and moving between different locations. And then we need to go to our movement component and search for Excel, and we want to check the use acceleration for paths. This will allow our AI to use the animation blueprint when moving around. Now back to our level, we need to set up some nav mesh. So inside the volumes, we can find the nav mesh bounds volume. If we drag this out, we'll see a green outline of where the nav mesh bounds is. If you do not see this outline, you can hit P on your keyboard, which will toggle the visualizer for this nav mesh. So we're just going to simply drag this over and scale it to fit our general area. So now let's hit play and test this. We'll see our NPC moves to the first location and then to the second. He does seem to be a little bit on the fast side, so let's adjust some parameters there. So let's go back to our NPC. Inside the movement component, let's make the max walk speed a bit lower. So let's do 300. And we will also adjust the loop timer to about 10 seconds. So let's test this again. Character moves to the first location. After about 10 seconds, he should move to the next location. Now let's hop onto setting up some information inside the NPC data structure. The structure is used to drive both simple and branching dialogue between both the player and the NPC. So if we click on our NPC and scroll down to NPC, the NPC category, we have our dialogue sets. Underneath that, we have the interaction prompts. And underneath that, we have options for the camera. So for this process, let's quickly change the functionality for the move to. We're just going to simply disconnect it so that the NPC stays in place while we are testing these parameters. So as you can see, when we are in range to interact with the NPC, the prompt seems to be a bit low. So we're going to adjust that height in the interaction section. So under interaction prompt, let's change the prompt offset to something like 150 and test this. Can go a little bit higher. We want it just above the NPC's head. So 200. That seems like a good height. Now we're going to give this NPC a name. So let's add our first dialogue set. and we will leave the consequential tag as none. So this tag, or this variable, or name variable, sorry, is used to communicate consequential tags, which we will touch on later in the tutorial. But for now, we'll leave this none. We'll give this NPC name, we'll call this test NPC. So if we hit play, the name should now be displaying, and when we are in range, we can talk to the NPC. So let's talk a little bit about setting up dialogue. So if we go back to our first dialogue set that we created and we add a new dialogue array, you'll notice we have a few options here. So we have replies, we have the dialogue sound, and we have the subtitles for the sound, alongside the consequential tag that can be applied to the character's consequential tag array for this reply. Again, this will be touched on further in the tutorial. So let's start off with replies. So you'll notice we have a few different options here. We have select and reply. We have reply option A, reply option B, and is last reply. The NPC manager will use the value or the text in the select on reply, and it will go through all the different dialogue indexes, or array indexes, sorry, to find the correct reply to prompt to the player after replying to a previous dialogue. It's a bit hard to explain, but this will be demonstrated shortly. So let's start off by making this first reply the initial reply. So this will be the first dialogue that gets initiated when the character talks to the NPC. So let's make this one initial, spelled exactly like how I have it here. So this is the tag used to determine or set this reply as the first reply that's used when you conversate with the NPC. Let's make reply option A as what is your name, and reply option B as goodbye. Let's make the dialogue sound a sound from Story Framework, a voice line, just to demonstrate. And we'll give two different subtitles here, so we can explain how this is set up as well. So the subtitle delay is used to determine how long the subtitle will be on screen for. So let's make the first one, hi there. We'll make this last a second. Let's make the second one, didn't see you there. And let's give this a 1.2 second delay. So the way subtitles are managed is, so each index in the subtitles array is summed up and used to determine how long the dialogue will take until the next dialogue is prompted to the player. So let's leave the consequential tag variable as none, as we're not doing anything with that yet. This would be used to add a consequential tag to the consequential tag array for the player. Again, we'll touch on this further into the tutorial. Let's change some further settings. We're going to leave allow player movement to false, as we want the player to stay in place when we're talking to this NPC. And we're not going to use any custom camera setups for this NPC, so we're going to leave the use custom camera variable as false. Then back up at the head location offset under default, we're going to change this to, say, -90. That should be somewhere around the head of the player, or of the NPC. So let's hit play and test this. If we go up to our NPC and we hit talk, we get our dialogue and we get prompted our different reply options. So we're just going to leave for now. So by default, if you do not use custom cameras and you do not allow player movement, it'll use the default option of simply panning towards the head location variable. The camera will pan over to that point. Now let's add some more replies. So under the replies array, we're going to add another index. We're going to drop this down Let's minimize this one. We're going to use the what's your name as the select on reply. So when we select this prompt, the current one that we're working on will be displayed. So let's drop down the replies again. Let's make the select on reply the what's your name. And then we'll add some reply options to this one. So we'll do goodbye and interesting name as reply option B. We're going to give this another dialogue sound. Again, we're just going to use one of the dialogue sounds or voice lines that are included in Story Framework. So let's add some more subtitles to this. Let's make the text. So we're selecting it on the what's your name. So we'll make this I do not have a name. We'll give this a delay of 1.5. Add another subtitle. We'll change the subtitle text to I am an NPC. And we'll make this 1 second. So if we test this back in our level, if we select the what's your name reply option, we should get prompted with that next dialogue set or next dialogue option. So let's select what's your name. And then we get prompted with our new options again. So this can continue and branch off into however many directions you'd like. But next we're going to set up ending conversation. So let's add another dialogue option. Under replies, we're going to make this one is last reply. So we're going to select on the goodbye reply. So you'll notice since we're using this goodbye as the select on reply, this is used twice in other dialogue options. So in the first option, we have goodbye as one of the options. So this will communicate with that same reply option again. Same thing with the second dialogue option, which also includes goodbye as a reply option. So since this is a last reply, we don't need to use reply option A or reply option B. We can just simply give this this reply option a voice line and give it some subtitles. Just do one line. Let's do enjoy your day. We'll give this a delay of 1.5. So now if we select the goodbye option, we should end the conversation and get the enjoy your day prompt. So if we select goodbye on the first reply option, we can see that's all working. Now you'll notice that when we're speaking to this NPC again, the conversation isn't restarting. It's simply just playing over the last reply option again. So if we select on this NPC and we go up to restart conversation and we check this and we hit play again, every time we speak to this NPC, the conversation will restart. So let's test this all again. We hit goodbye. So as you notice, the conversation restarted. So now let's do the what's your name option. And we hit goodbye. It plays that goodbye reply option again. So that covers just about the basics of setting up NPC dialogue. Now we're going to jump into setting up and utilizing consequential tags to further branch off dialogue between different NPCs and the player itself. So let's minimize this first dialogue set and we're going to add a new one. We're getting prompted with a warning that we can't add a new dialogue set with the same name, so we're just going to simply change this name for now. So we can make this consequential tag for this dialogue set secret, and let's change this back to none. So when the player has the secret consequential tag, this dialog will be used instead of none. So let's duplicate over this NPC, as we're going to have a second one in the level. And we're going to just delete all the dialog sets and add a new one. We'll leave this as none again. We'll give this NPC name test NPC2. We hit restart conversation. We're going to allow player movement for this one to demonstrate how that works. Under dialog, we're going to add some more options. So under the first dialog, let's do replies. Select on reply again will be initial. Let's do reply option A as tell me a secret. And reply option B as goodbye. Let's give this dialog a voice line again. So again, just using another voice line from Story Framework. And let's add a hi there as the subtitles. Let's make this one a bit longer. And we'll leave the consequential tag as none. So let's test this. If we walk up to our second NPC, we can see he has the test NPC2 name. If we go ahead and talk to him, you'll see we have full control over our player while we're talking to this NPC. So this is useful for situations where the character needs to walk and talk to the NPC at the same time. Now let's add some more replies. So again, same procedure, we're going to add a new dialogue. So this one will have the consequential tag. So on replies, we're looking for the tell me a secret reply option. And we're going to make this one is last reply. Again, we're going to give this a voice line. And add a subtitles text. Let's make this subtitle text as I have superpowers. Let's make this last 1.5 seconds. We're going to give this consequential tag as secret. So if we hit play and test this, when we talk to this NPC, you'll see the tell me a secret reply option is now highlighted to indicate to the player that this is a impactful or consequential option. So as you can see, tell me a secret is highlighted in blue. If we hit tell me a secret, this consequential tag will now be added to the consequential tags array. So now if we go back to the first NPC, if you can remember, we set up another dialog set with the secret consequential tag. So we're just going to have this as sort of a one-liner. We'll make this NPC name the same as the first dialog set, so test NPC. We can leave restart conversation as false, as there's not going to be any options. So under the first dialog option, we'll do select on reply, we'll do initial again. We'll make this is last reply. Give this another voice line. And we'll change this to, we'll add a subtitle and change this to wow. With a delay, and then another one as the more you know. Let's make this one a bit longer. So now this dialog option will be selected when the player has the secret consequential tag. So let's hit play again. Let's talk to the second NPC. Let's say tell me a secret. So now that consequential tag should be added to the player's consequential tag array. If we talk to this NPC now, he should prompt us with the second dialog set. So that now also covers the basics for consequential tags. We're going to dive a bit deeper into these consequential tags and how they can be used both within NPCs and outside of NPCs. So as a demonstration, we're going to go into the level blueprint. So let's go down to some open space. We're going to do a get player, or sorry, we're going to do a get SF interaction manager. So the interaction manager controls the consequential tags for the player. And off of this, we can do a edit consequential tags. We can call that function. So this node can be used to add new consequential tags or remove specified tags. It also has the option to create the consequential tags widget that is shown at the top of the screen when a new tag is added. So this function is used inside the NPC manager as well to add consequential tags. And of course, this can be used outside for any of your own use cases. We can also drag off the interaction manager reference and do a get consequential tags. So these are, or this is an array of all the player's consequential tags if you need to use this again for your own use cases. So now let's play around with using custom camera angles for NPC conversation. So let's select our NPC, our second NPC. We're going to tick use custom camera, and we're going to untick the allow player movement option in the first dialog set. Now we're going to use the editor utility widget again to get two different points in the level to view the conversation from. So the NPC character camera will be used for when the NPC is talking, and the player camera will be used for when the player gets prompted options to reply. And then we have the set character location, which will set the character's location when you initiate conversation. This will help with better framing different point of views of the conversations. So let's do the NPC character camera first. So when this NPC is speaking, we're gonna have him, or have the camera somewhere around here. So let's get the information from the editor utility widget again. So this is for the NPC character. Let's do the player now. We'll have this sort of coming over his shoulder. Now let's set up the character's location. So we're just going to copy this over and use it as a reference location. So we would want the player to situate somewhere around this point when in conversation. So let's copy over the location. We can delete this. Back on our NPC, we can paste in this as the set character location. So if we hit play and test this, when we start conversation, we should be alternating between these different fixed camera angles for the conversation.
Bona limwani poes liwandua pujiwani.
So as you can see, we cycled between the two different custom camera angles. Finally, I'd just like to touch on utilizing the sound section inside the SF Tools editor utility widget for setting up subtitled sounds. So let's open up our level blueprint just to use as an example. Let's do a small delay of event begin player. Let's get a reference to the sequence manager and do a play subtitled sound, or play sound with subtitles. For the sound, we're going to select a audible voice line, one that has some actual speech.
Awesome photo.
So we'll use voice line A. We can leave override as false. This is used to let the sequence manager know if this sound that is playing can override any previous subtitled sounds that are playing. So since there aren't going to be any previous sounds that are playing, we can leave this as false. Let's drag off of the subtitles and do a make array. So this subtitles array works very similarly to the NPC's subtitled sounds. So if we do another make, you can see we have the subtitle text and the subtitle delay. So if we find this sound in the content browser and we select it, let's just simply minimize this window. You'll see the sound section automatically picks up the sound that we have selected in the content browser. So this playback menu can be used to assist you with setting up the different delays between different speeches or different sentences in subtitles. So if we hit play, it just simply plays back the sound cue. So let's jump to start and play this through.
Awesome photo. Reminds me of my photography days.
So we're going to split this voice line up into 3 different subtitles. So let's toggle slow mode so we can more accurately see the time that is, or the time that the playback is at. So the first subtitle will last about 1.5 seconds. And we'll make this awesome photo. Let's play it again.
Reminds me of my...
At 3 seconds, we will play the next one. So let's add another pin. We'll do reminds me of my... And we need to subtract the current playback sound from the previous delay that we have set. So the first delay was 1.5 seconds, we're at 3 seconds, so doing that simple math, we are left with 1.5 seconds again for the second delay. We're going to add another one and hit play again. So the sound ends at 4.2 seconds. So we're going to do the same procedure again. We're going to add these 2 delays and minus it from the total time. So 3 seconds or 4.2 seconds minus 3 seconds would be 1.2. We can change this to photography days. Let's compile and save. And we can test this out. If we hit play.
Awesome photo. Reminds me of my photography days.
So that's the basics of setting up and utilizing the sound section for subtitled sounds. This same workflow can be applied to setting up NPC subtitles as well in the dialogue sets. So that should just about cover your basic intro to setting up and creating NPCs, as well as setting up and utilizing the subtitled sounds with the fixed camera angles. These systems are built with modularity in mind, so branching dialogue is completely left in your hands. However you want your dialogue to sort of play out is entirely up to you. All the customizability options are already there.